All right, so I'm going to teach you guys about scale rulers. This is the building block of any landscape design. We have to scale down what we are seeing in real life so it will fit on a piece of paper. For instance, you have a house that is maybe 50 feet across the front of it, but unfortunately you don't have a piece of paper that is 50 feet long, and so you have to make your entire drawing for a landscape design fit onto one single piece of paper. And for that, we use these kind of funky looking rulers. They are a triangle in shape, and they've got all kinds of different numbers on them. I don't know, they're kind of confusing when you first look at them. There's two different kinds of scale rulers. This one is an engineer's scale. It's got whole numbers on it. It's really good for metric or, I don't know, basic measuring. It's usually used in metrics. And then this is an architect's scale, and it has fractions on it. This is used for house building, landscape design, things where you need a little bit more precision as far as inches go. The architect's ruler is the one that we're going to be using. We do have some engineer scales in the cupboard, but we're not going to be using them. So just make sure that when you're grabbing your scale ruler, you're grabbing the right one, not the engineers, but you're using the architects. They're either plastic or wood. Mine just happens to be plastic. They, like I said, they're triangle in shape. They can be a little bit confusing to read when you first start looking at them because there's numbers on both sides. So you'll notice that there are fractions here and upside down. You turn it, again, there's more, and if you look at the other end of it, there's more fractions or numbers on the other side. So you have to figure out which numbers you're looking at when you are reading this thing. The easiest way to remember which way to read it from is, or which numbers you're looking at, is you're always looking at the side from the zero. The zero corresponds to the fraction or the number that's closest to it. So in this particular case, this zero corresponds to this 1/4 inch. On the other end of the ruler, you'll see a zero here and an 1/8 of an inch. So this 1/8 of an inch obviously is half of the 1/4 of an inch on the other side. So if I want to read something in a 1/4 inch scale, I'm reading it from the zero. If I want to read it in an 1/8 of an inch scale, I'm reading it from the zero here on the 1/8 of an inch. Same thing here, 1/2 an inch scale, 3/32 of an inch scale, and then the double of that is on the other side. With these, we do also have a standard ruler where it's a 16, so this is your standard 12 inches, and there's no other half on the other side. So that's kind of the layout of the ruler itself. When we're doing landscape design, the ones that you usually look at are the 1/8 of an inch, the 1/4 of an inch, the 3/8 of an inch here. Sometimes we use 3/8 of an inch, and then we use the 3/32, and 3/16. So we're going to start with 1/4 and an 1/8, and I'm going to show you basically how to read it. It's a really weird ruler. You can read it looking at it this way, so I'm reading the 1/8 of an inch scale right here if I'm measuring my line, or I can read it from the 1/4 of an inch this way, so you can read it backwards looking at the top. That means you're always kind of looking over the top of the ruler, and it's kind of a pain in the butt sometimes. So we actually read it upside down. So I'm going to flip it this way. It's going to seem a little confusing. So here's the 1/4 of an inch, and then 1/8 of an inch is down here. When we read the ruler, we take our line, or whatever we want to read, and we line up the one end of the line with the zero that we want to read. So in this case, it's a 1/4 of an inch. And we read the numbers that are the same height or at the same level as the zero that we're reading. So if we go down here, we line up our our line with a 0, and then we read it this way toward the other edge. The rulers only have the even numbers on them. So you can see here's 2, 4, 6, 8. These correspond to feet. So this is 2 feet, 4 feet, 6 feet, 8 feet. And again, we're reading it upside down. You can, if you want to read it from the 1/8 of an inch, I'm going to flip it around because my box thingy's in the way. And I'm going to read it from the top. So if you look at it this way, this is 4 feet, 6 feet, nope, 4 feet, 8 feet, 12 feet, 16 feet. The numbers in between are the other feet. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So at 1/8 of an inch scale, this line is 15 feet long. If I flip it around to the other side and I measure that same line, I line up my line with the 0 again, and this line then becomes 1, 2, 3, nope, I lied. So this is the half right here. So if this is 2, then that means this is 1. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but my line doesn't go to the 8. Okay, so if I'm looking, my line ends right here, and here is the 8. So what I have to do actually is measure down here in the inches. So this is 6 feet, this is 7 feet, but my line ends between the 7 and the 8. What I do in this particular case is I shift my ruler down to the next whole number. So in this case, if my 0 is here, okay, my 0 is here, and I'm falling in between here, here's my next whole number, is that 7. I'm going to shift my ruler down to the 7, and now the end of the line falls within these tiny tick marks right here. And those tiny tick marks actually are inches. So if you look up close at it, each of those little lines indicates an inch. So if we're looking at it here, it's 1, 2, 3 inches, 4, 5, 6 inches, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 inches. So there's 12 tick marks. So this is the 6-inch mark right here. So if I again line up my line with the 7, here's my 7 again, my tick marks fall where that 7 is at the 6-inch mark. So this line at 1/4 of an inch scale is going to be 7 feet 6 inches at 1/4 of an inch. Okay. So if I go back and I read it from the 1/8 of an inch, again, we count our lines. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, because I'm following the small ones that go with the small 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15. So at 1/8 of an inch, this is 15 feet at 1/8 of an inch. We indicate our scale we indicate the scale by saying 1/4 of an inch equals 1.0 feet, or we do 1/8 of an inch equals 1 foot. So we want to make sure that we indicate on our drawing what size our scale is. So I'm going to measure this particular line up here at 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to again read it upside down. I line up my line with the 0, and then I count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So this line at 1/4 of an inch is 10 feet even. Okay, if I were to measure this line down here at 1/4 of an inch, again, my line doesn't line up with an even number because I'm not looking at the 76, I'm looking at the 8 and then the 9. So I shift down to the next whole number and look at my small tick marks at 1/4 of an inch. This line is 8 feet 6 inches. So it's pretty basic. You just follow whatever scale your drawing is at, or wherever you want, or however you want to scale down your drawing in order to fit on your piece of paper, and make it happen.